The story begins with Vivian, a corporate young woman leading who worked tirelessly in her mind to 5 jobs and obeyed every instruction her boss gave her. Whether the task was big or small, she handled it with absolute sincerity, the kind of employee every company wants but few appreciate. Yet, beneath her disciplined surface, her personal life was quietly falling apart. Even her juniors had started to resent her relentless work ethic because her dedication often dragged them into unwanted overtime. Vivian, however, believed she was the hero of her office, a model of hard work and reliability. But one day, that illusion shattered when she overheard her colleagues whispering behind her back, calling her painfully dull and a girl who spent her life orbiting around the boss. The words cut deeper than she expected. That evening, she went home, sank into her couch, and began listening to old songs by her favorite singer, Jimin, the voice that once defined her youth. As the melody drifted through her room, the story slipped into the past, into the bright and beautiful days of high school. Vivian's narration carried a nostalgic warmth. She remembered how, back then, the world was divided into two types of girls, the beautiful ones and boys chasing after them, and the other ones are plain, unnoticed ones like herself, whose romantic prospects were as empty as their lunchboxes. Still, those were blissful days filled with laughter. Every morning meant new excitement, chatting with friends, collecting Jimin's pictures, and secretly believing that whichever girl owned the most photos of him would one day become his bride. Jimin wasn't the only heartthrob in town. There was also Dino, the college basketball star, the golden boy every girl swooned over. One day, Vivian found a mysterious letter in her school locker. At first glance, it looked like a love letter, and her heart raced. But when she opened it, her excitement turned to horror. It wasn't a confession of love, but it was a bad luck letter, claiming that if she forwarded it to 5 people, her life would fill with happiness. But if she tore or threw it away, her life would be cursed with endless misfortune. Poor Vivian froze, trapped between fear and disbelief. Who should she give it to? If she followed the instructions, she'd ruin someone else's peace, and if she didn't, she'd doom her own. Finally, she made a nervous decision. Her first target was her grumpy math teacher Chan. She quietly slipped the letter onto his desk, hoping fate would stay blind. The second, she dropped into the mailbox of her pretty but arrogant neighbor Ming, who loved to flaunt her beauty and tease Vivian about her plain looks. The third, she stealthily tucked into the bag of Tai, the school's most notorious troublemaker, partly because she'd seen him fighting with Dino just the day before. When Tai discovered the letter, he laughed it off until a few hours later when he got into a terrible accident that left his leg fractured. Shaken, he became convinced the cursed letter was to blame. Determined to find who had placed it in his bag, Tai sent his gang to search the classrooms. When they reached Vivian's class, they found the remaining 2 letters hidden in her desk. She was dragged to Tai's den, trembling but silent, standing before the very boy she had unintentionally angered. Tai rummaged through her bag and found a pile of Dino's photos. Instantly, he understood everything. She had done it out of jealousy and heartbreak. But instead of punishing her, he did something unexpected. He made her his friend. Of course, in Tai's dictionary, friendship meant servitude. From that day onward, Vivian was stuck doing his homework, fetching his food, and carrying out every order he barked. Her school days turned into a blur of exhaustion and reluctant obedience. Then came the day he decided they were skipping class to go watch a movie. Vivian protested fiercely. She had never bunked a day in her life. She tried every excuse she could invent, but Tai wouldn't listen. He grinned and told her that if she didn't break a few rules during school life, she'd regret it when she was old. Reluctantly, she gave in. They went to the movies, and afterwards, he dragged her to the skating rink at the mall. There, things took a dark turn. A rival school gang appeared, the same one Tai's group had long-standing beef with. Within moments, chaos erupted, fists flew, shouts echoed, and the rink turned into a battleground. Tai was hit hard from behind and fell bleeding onto the floor. Horrified, Vivian rushed to him, handed him a wooden stick, and somehow found the courage to stay. Empowered by her gesture, Tai fought back fiercely, knocking out his attackers one by one. But the victory didn't last. The next day, word of the brawl reached the principal. Tai, his gang, and Vivian were summoned to the office. The principal ordered Vivian to testify against them, but Tai's menacing presence silenced her completely. Furious, the principal punished her by assigning them to clean the entire swimming pool. As Vivian was scrubbing the pool floor, she overheard voices, Dino and Ming. They were whispering about a child. Dino's tone was soothing, assuring Ming not to worry, promising that no one in the school would ever know he was the father. Hidden beneath the pool bridge, Vivian froze. Her world collapsed in a single heartbeat. The boy she adored, the reason she had made enemies, endured humiliation, and nearly ruined her reputation, was about to become the father of Ming's child. Overwhelmed by heartbreak, she slipped into the pool and let herself sink, deciding she no longer wanted to breathe. But Tai appeared just in time, diving in and saving her. When he pulled her out, he clutched her, trembling, and for the first time, Vivian saw him cry. When she asked why he was crying, he refused to answer. Later, Tai told Vivian that he had long harbored feelings for Ming, but never confessed them. And now both of them now shared one thing: unreturned affection. Together they made a pact to watch over Ming and Dino, and somehow, to break them apart. Soon they discovered the truth behind the earlier misunderstanding. Dino and Ming weren't talking about a baby at all, instead they were talking about a puppy they had adopted together. Hence, Tai and Vivian decided to steal the puppy just to annoy the couple. The next day, however, trouble came knocking again. Their math teacher somehow found out that Vivian was the one who had placed the cursed letter on his desk. He summoned her to the staff room. Coincidentally, Tai was already there, scolding another teacher for something entirely unrelated. Before Vivian could confess, Tai stepped in, took the blame, and said he was the one who had left the letter. Vivian was spared, but Tai wasn't so lucky as he got a long, loud scolding. Though, for him, that was nothing new. Now that he had helped her, Vivian decided to return the favor. She began helping Tai write a love letter to Ming, one heartfelt enough to finally express everything he had been too scared to say. Vivian had grown used to Tai's strange moods and his unpredictable behavior, but that day, their conversation took an unexpectedly heartfelt turn. She began explaining to him the philosophy of girls, how emotions, pride, and feelings often clashed in confusing ways that even girls themselves couldn't explain. Tai listened with his usual half-mocking grin, but something about Vivian's seriousness held his attention longer than usual. A few days later, while browsing through the school's old annual book, Vivian stumbled upon Tai's picture, right there on the list of the school's best students. She blinked, almost laughing at the irony. How could the same boy who now bullied half the school once have been its shining star? The question refused to leave her mind. She knew that Tai and Dino had once been close, so she decided to ask him directly. When Vivian approached Dino about it, he sighed, his face clouded with nostalgia. He explained that there was a time when he, Tai, and Xian were inseparable. Three best friends who stuck together through everything. Their friendship was so strong that no one else could come between them. Then, one day, everything changed. The trio had gone to the seaside for fun, and Xian had challenged Tai to a swimming race. Both dived into the ocean, cutting through the waves like carefree children. Tai won the race, but Xian never resurfaced. He drowned before anyone could save him. That single moment shattered Tai completely. He blamed himself for his friend's death and shut everyone out, even Dino. From that day, the bright, hopeful boy vanished, replaced by the angry rebel Vivian knew. Hearing this, Vivian's heart ached for him. Quietly, she resolved to help him become the person he once was. The next morning, she dragged Tai to the skating ground, drew a Vivian across the floor, and challenged him. Whoever crossed it first would be the winner, she declared with mock determination. Tai couldn't help but burst into laughter. After all, Vivian had never even skated. Yet despite falling again and again, she stubbornly stood back up each time, her face set with fierce resolve. Finally, Tai asked why she was doing all this. Vivian shouted over the wind that it was for him. She said she finally understood why he had cried when he saw her drowning in the pool that day, because it reminded him of Xian. But sometimes in life, things happen that are beyond our control. The decisions we make don't always have villains. That day, she told him, wasn't his fault. She just wanted him to forgive himself and be the Tai he used to be. Her words cracked something open inside him. The next day, the entire school noticed the change. The once defiant Tai, who never opened a textbook, was now reading on his own. He even encouraged his friends to behave and listen to the teachers. The transformation stunned everyone, including the teachers themselves. And Vivian too seemed to change. She began dressing differently, stylish, graceful, and radiant, like the girls she once envied. When she arrived to meet Tai, even he was momentarily speechless, though he quickly hid his surprise behind a teasing smirk, calling her auntie just to fluster her. They went out together that day, grabbing a meal at a small eatery. While Vivian went to place the order, Ming appeared, throwing coy glances at Tai. Apparently, she was impressed by his new demeanor. When Vivian returned and saw Ming flirting with him, jealousy flared up for the first time. She didn't admit it, but the look in her eyes betrayed her. Trying to shake off her feelings, Vivian decided to reinvent herself completely. She even got a haircut like her favorite movie actress. When she walked into the classroom the next day, every boy, including Dino, was left staring in awe. A few months later, Ty achieved something no one expected as he topped the midterm exams. But instead of celebrating him, the principal accused him of cheating. Ty insisted he had earned his grades through hard work, but the principal refused to believe him and accused the rest of the class of helping him cheat. When no one spoke up, the principal grew furious and punished everyone. For the first time, Ty was innocent yet branded guilty. So, with quiet dignity, he asked that all the punishment be given to him alone. The principal agreed and ordered him to run 50 laps around the school ground. As Ty ran, panting and pale, the other students gathered to watch. When Vivian heard what had happened, she rushed to the principal's office, insisting that Ty had not cheated, that his success came from effort, not deceit. But the principal's mind was made up. He said boys like Ty didn't deserve education and should be expelled. Despite the humiliation, Ty passed the term legitimately and even ranked among the top students. Vivian couldn't bear the injustice. To defend him, she led a small rebellion across the school. Students marched, shouted, and demanded fairness. When the teachers learned about it, they called Vivian's parents and reported everything. At home, she was scolded harshly. Meanwhile, Ty, desperate to talk to her, kept calling her house. Her parents forbade him from contacting her again, but stubborn as ever, he called anyway. Vivian quietly answered the phone in her room. Hearing her voice calmed Ty instantly. She told him not to call for a few days, and though she said everything was fine, he could sense something was wrong. Later that night, Ty showed up outside her house, tossing small stones at her window. When Vivian stepped out and asked what he was doing there, he grinned and said that when girls claim everything is fine, it usually means nothing is fine, and that's why he came. They ended up going skateboarding together under the soft streetlights, laughing in between shaky glides and near falls. The next morning, the school held its annual function. Students who topped their classes were called on stage to receive awards. Time passed, but Ty's name was never announced. Vivian's anger flared. In front of everyone, she deliberately ruined her own dress and declared that if Ty could be punished for no reason, then she deserved punishment too. Dino stepped forward to back her up, saying he had also cheated in the exams and should be punished. The teachers dismissed his claim, saying they knew how brilliant he was, unlike Ty, who could never be trusted. That did it. One by one, the students rose from their seats and joined Vivian and Dino in protest. The sheer unity of the students stunned the staff, who had no choice but to drop the issue altogether. From that day onward, no teacher ever dared question Ty's integrity again. Soon after, Dino, Ty, Vivian, and Ming are together on a school trip, laughing and playing a round of truth and dare. Everyone had come paired up, Ty with Ming, Vivian with Dino, and the rest with their own partners. But deep down, neither Vivian felt comfortable with Dino, nor Ty with Ming. Something between them had quietly begun to change. During the game of truth and dare, the bottle spun and came to a stop, its neck pointing directly at Dino. Someone asked playfully if the person he liked was present there. He smiled shyly and nodded. When the bottle turned to Vivian, the same question was asked, and she too nodded, a faint blush warming her face. Even Ty gave the same quiet confirmation. But when it landed on Ming, Ty leaned forward and asked a different question entirely, whether she was the one who had told the math teacher about the letter Vivian had left on his desk. Before Ming could even respond, Dino, sensing the tension rise, quickly changed the topic. Yet Ty wasn't fooled. His sharp instincts told him the truth that Ming had been the real sender of those cursed letters all along, and that's how she had known Vivian was behind the prank. That night, Ty shared everything with Vivian. The two went out together, collecting firewood under the pale glow of the moon, and finally sat down in a quiet clearing. They talked for hours about life, regrets, dreams, and everything in between. In that lonely place, they made a heartfelt promise to each other. No matter where life took them for higher studies, their friendship would never break. Ty vowed to leave behind his temper and fights, to become a better student, and one day, a successful man. As they spoke, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Both joined their hands and silently made a wish. But Vivian realized something beautiful, that the so-called cursed letter that had once terrified her had actually become her greatest blessing, as it had led her to Ty. The next day, fate struck again. While heading home, Ty was ambushed by members of a rival gang. A brutal fight broke out, and afterwards, he disappeared. Days passed with no word from him. He missed his exams, and Vivian was sick with worry. Then one morning, Ty was summoned to the principal's office. There, Vivian overheard shocking news as he was leaving the school for good to go to America. She rushed to him, angry and confused, demanding why he had fought again when she'd begged him to stay away from trouble, and where he had been all this time. His tone was cold as he replied that his life was his choice, and it was none of her concern. The harshness in his words broke her. Furious and hurt, Vivian walked away without looking back. Days later came her birthday. Ty didn't show up, but through his friends he sent her a poster and a cassette of her favorite singer Jimin. The gesture filled her with bittersweet joy. The next morning she spotted Ty at school and thought he had come to wish her. But the truth was crueler. He was there to meet Ming. Seeing them together shattered her completely. She learned they were now in a relationship. Vivian returned home, locked herself in her room, and cried until her voice was gone. Neither home nor school brought her peace anymore. Eventually, Ty left for America, and Vivian's world turned colorless. She drifted through her days, lost in memories of him. One afternoon, while absent-mindedly crossing the street, a speeding car nearly hit her. Just in time, Dino pulled her to safety like Ty once had. Trying to lift her spirits, he took her to the movies and even helped her study. Slowly, he became her quiet support. One evening, while they were walking together, Dino finally revealed the truth Vivian had longed to hear and dreaded all at once. He said that Ty had truly loved her. The day she had sent him that letter, apologized at the end, and shown her innocence, he had fallen for her completely. But when he realized that Vivian had feelings for Dino instead, he chose to step aside and bring them closer, sacrificing his own love. Then came another revelation that Ty hadn't gone to America for education, but for treatment. But during one of his fights, he had suffered a severe head injury, which caused blood clotting in his brain. Without telling anyone, he left for surgery overseas. Hearing all this, Vivian broke down. She couldn't believe that her one mistake, her one misunderstanding had cost her the very person who had loved her most deeply. That night, she sat alone and played the cassette Ty had gifted her. His recorded voice echoed softly. "Whenever you miss me, look up at the sky, I'll be searching for you there too." The story shifted back to the present, where Vivian sat holding that same old cassette, her window to the past. Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they weren't only of sadness. Something within her had changed. The next morning, she walked into her office and quietly placed her resignation letter on her boss's desk. Then she ended the toxic relationship she had been dragging on for years. For the first time in forever, she felt free. Days passed, and one afternoon, she learned that her idol, Jimin, was performing a concert in her city. She tried everything to get a ticket, but failed. Heartbroken, she wandered through a nearby park and lost her small keychain Ty had given her slipped from her hand. Someone bent down and picked it up. When she looked up, she froze. It was Jimin himself. She stood there stunned, barely able to breathe. He smiled warmly as she stammered for an autograph and even clicked a selfie with him. When Jimin asked if she was attending his show, Vivian admitted she didn't have a ticket despite trying every possible way. Jimin chuckled and handed her his assistant's contact number, promising that she'd get one. That night, Vivian went to collect her ticket from the assistant, and when she saw Jimin's assistant, her heart stopped, because standing before her was Ty. Moments later, the TV outside played Jimin's live concert. The singer addressed the audience, saying the next performance was inspired by a true, touching love story, his assistant's story. He dedicated the song to his assistant's beloved, a woman named Vivian Truly. The concert itself was titled Truly, Madly, Deeply. As the crowd roared, Vivian's eyes filled with tears. She remembered the day when Ty had once promised he'd make Jimin sing for her, and now, he finally had. With a trembling smile, Vivian walked toward him. Ty laughed softly, and together, they entered the concert hall. And just like that, their story, woven through years of misunderstanding, heartbreak, and unwavering affection, came to a perfect, heartwarming end.